What helps good work happen? Before getting to anything specific, I want to set the tone for how I'm going to speak today. And this isn't a corporate update or a list of initiatives. It's kind of a reflection drawn from my role within the technical authority on what helps good work happen day to day, and particularly in maintenance. I'll use a very simple visual anchor for the conversation, but most of this is about judgment, experience, and how we work together. One of the things I've learned over the years is that the hardest problems we face on the railway are rarely technical. And that's not to diminish technical skill, because as we listen to today's speakers, we should be absolutely appreciate and celebrate the technical expertise and the stagecraft, the sheer graft, and the ingenuity it takes to make things happen in practice. But where things really succeed or fail is in how we organise ourselves, how we collaborate, and how we respond to a system when the work isn't straightforward. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Eric Thomson. That was a very long list of expertise, but whilst I have the unfortunate title of engineering expert, in practice my role is about the development of strategy, development of standards. It's about risk management and assurance. I started out in track maintenance as a graduate engineer and then as a local track engineer with what was then Railtrack, feels like ages ago, I think 1997. First in Newcastle and then in Leeds, both under the mentorship of people like Roy Evans, Keith Lee and Peter Cushion, who shaped how I think about engineering responsibility to this very day. My current remit is more focused on renewals and design. So you've got the renewals guy today, but never mind, which means I now spend a lot of time at the interface between how decisions are set centrally and how they land locally in a devolved organisation. I've seen how when the technical authority plays its role properly, it can genuinely enable better collaboration across deliverers rather than get in the way. I should also say for clarity that many of the examples I will refer to today come from a renewals or a design context, simply because that's where my current remit sits. But I don't want that to be misread as a renewals message. The technical discipline isn't the point, the behaviours absolutely are. How we collaborate, how we avoid duplication, how we learn together and respond as one system. The language might look different in maintenance, design or projects, but the underlying principles are absolutely shared. It's probably worth pausing for a minute to say something explicitly about what the technical authority actually does, because there's often an expectation at this point that I'll put up a slide with a long list of projects. I'm deliberately not doing that because the work, not because the work isn't real, because the list isn't the point. What matters is whether the work helps people get on and do a job without unnecessary friction. And I think we were just having a chat about that in the breakout with the Insight team. The reality is that the TA has a huge bandwidth. We sit at the intersection of standards, assurance, investigations, innovation, delivery pressure, cost pressure, and long-term intent. We're pulled in multiple directions at once, often by people with very legitimate but very different expectations. That means we have many masters and inevitably many detractors as a technical authority. What anchors the work isn't defining standards for their own sake. It's supporting the wider system objectives, keeping trains moving, safety and reliably, and managing risk honestly. Making sure decisions taken in one part of the railway don't quietly create problems somewhere else. A lot of the TA's day-to-day effort falls into a few broad types of work. Removing friction so people don't have to reinvent answers locally or work defensively. Creating places where the system learns together so recurring problems are solved once rather than slightly differently everywhere. And providing assurance not just that something complies on paper, but that the underlying engineering judgment is sound and defensible. But I'm conscious that some of that can sound a bit abstract. None of it is the point in its own right. The point is to enable people across the system to get on and do a good job, safely, consistently, and with confidence. When the technical authority is doing its job properly, you shouldn't really feel it day to day. You should feel that the work makes sense, the decisions are supported, and that good engineering judgment is recognised rather than second-guessed. If people are quietly getting on, doing quality work, and taking pride in it, that's a success from a TA point of view. So the examples I touch on today aren't a project list, they aren't a sales pitch, they're illustrations of the kind of behaviours and ways of working we're trying to encourage, because these are the things that generally make it easier for good work to happen. So with that as context, and with a shared understanding that this isn't about selling a programme or defending a function, it's probably worth saying a few things openly about the conditions we're working in. It would be unrealistic to pretend the railway is operating in easy or settled conditions. We're devolved, planning windows are tighter, interfaces aren't always clean, and there are bigger industry changes in the background that none of us can ignore. That's not unusual for maintenance, it never has been, but it helps to acknowledge it early so it doesn't sit unspoken underneath the conversations we're going to have today. One of the things I've noticed over the past few years is that devolution hasn't made people care less or are being more disconnected, but it's meant that sometimes we end up solving the same problems in slightly different ways in different places. We're starting to change now. It isn't a swing back to command and control, and it isn't anyone panicking. It's more of a practical judgment that coming back together in the right places can save time and save rework and remove some of the friction that everyone recognises. I can definitely see that mindset in how Track Renewals community has set up its community of practice, not as a rule-making forum, but as a way of saying, if this keeps tripping you up in different places, let's sort it once, let's sort it properly and move on. The other reason I don't see change as something to be alarmed about is that we already have places where the awkward stuff shows up early. Forums like the Track Discipline Review Group, which I chair, aren't about escalation for its own sake. They're about Roots and Regions bringing together the real world issues, standards that don't quite land, interfaces that don't quite work. I'm talking about them openly because that matters. It matters because people feel they can surface the issues without being blamed for them. You get better decisions and fewer quiet workarounds that only show up when something goes wrong. So if that's the context we're working in, not perfect conditions, but real ones, the obvious question is, where does my confidence actually come from? Well, for me, confidence doesn't come from a glossy assurance or pretending that everything's fine. It comes from the quality of engagement when performance is mixed, for whether issues surface early or whether people are willing to share what's working and what isn't, and whether that learning travels. What gives me confidence right now is the way Roots and Regions are engaging, not defensively, but professionally, particularly in places like the Track Discipline Review Group. People bring practical problems, share approaches, ask for templates or registers that work, and are open to standardizing where it helps. You can certainly see the difference. There are fewer parallel fixes. That's a bit of a mouthful to say. Parallel fixes, fewer local workarounds, and more effort spent agreeing something others can pick up and reuse. What does not change? A lot changes around us, but some of the fundamentals really don't, and those fundamentals are what good work hangs off. When things feel busy or constrained, the temptation is to rely on heroics or shortcuts. Sometimes that's unavoidable, but over time, the things that genuinely help haven't changed much, and they are clarity of intent, consistency of application, and the proportionality of how we respond. Standards matter here, but only if we're honest about what they're for. At their best, they remove ambiguity so judgment can be applied confidently rather than defensively. And TRK 2102, the Track Design Handbook, is another good illustration of that mindset. When it's done properly, we don't treat it as a once every few years rewrite. We run a controlled, I call it bucket list of improvements, each linked to a real problem with a real benefit, and we prioritise it in a transparent way with people getting to vote and assess each of the items we take forward. That approach respects the experience of the people doing the work. It sometimes genuinely causes friction. We don't always agree, but we fix it properly and we don't patch around it locally. Especially under pressure, we don't win by heroics. We win by removing avoidable rework and unnecessary variation. Consistency used well doesn't flatten judgment. It makes sure that judgment is spent where it adds value. If those are the anchors, the final question is how we choose to work together to make them real. Where things work best is where problems are recognised as shared early, rather than everyone quietly developing their own version of the answer. The track renewals community of practice exists for that real reason, not to remove local ownership, but to bring people together where it saves time, reduces duplication, and unblocks work collectively. Some solutions are better solved once properly than rediscovered repeatedly in parallel. The same thing underpins the track design community of practice. That was an offshoot. That came directly from our supply chain, who said, well, you have a track renewals community of practice. Why don't we have a track design community of practice? This links designers with the standard owner and the assurance so that expectations are clearer and best practice travels. And that only works with rhythm. Regular cadence matters, and that's what makes shared learning the default, not the exception. When a standard doesn't genuinely work for delivery, the answer isn't workarounds. It's bringing that delivery community together and the standard owner together and fixing it properly with respect for the realities of doing the work. When all of that is working well, you don't feel the technical authority as a barrier. You feel that things make sense and that decisions are supported. And that's good engineering judgment. So I'll finish simply. Conditions are rarely perfect, but fundamentals applied consistently still win. Craft matters, judgment matters, and systems that respect those things are what help good work happen. Thank you very much.